Welcome to our April 3rd Thursday Small Town Big Business series, which is sponsored by the Erie County Gaming and Revenue Authority and coordinated by Impact Corey. I'm Erin Passenger, a board member of Impact Corey. Tonight, we have with us co-presenters Ashley Lawson of Blue Zones and Courtney Lyle of PennDOT. Ashley will be sharing details about Blue Zone's active transportation plan, which is being called Corey Connects. The plan aims to connect our community to parks, businesses, restaurants, neighborhoods, and schools. Courtney will be reviewing a paving project being planned by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation to make the pathway more visible and accessible. Immediately prior to joining the Blue Zones project as a public policy advocate, Lawson was the honors program coordinator at Gannon University, where she received her Master of Public Administration degree. She is committed to her community and believes that everyone can do and should do something to make a difference in their town. Currently, she sits on the board of the Erie Metropolitan Transit Authority and the Board of Trustees for the Jefferson Educational Society, where she is also president of their Civic Leadership Academy Alumni Network. In 2019, Ashley was named one of the Erie Readers 40 Under 40 for her continued commitment to the region. Courtney, who is a graduate of Corey Area High School, is the planning and programming manager for District 1. She has worked for PennDOT since 2001. Her other roles for PennDOT have included working in the Indiana County for District 10 as an information technician, serving in Clarion County for District 10 as a roadway programs coordinator for county maintenance, and Venango County for District 1 as the IDM unit manager. At this time, I will now turn the session over to Ashley and Courtney, and thanks to both of you for being here tonight.
Thanks, Erin. Admittedly, it still, I think, weirds me out when people read my bio in front of me. So I don't know if everyone gets that feeling or not, but I think I actually know most people on this call. But I think that's a great part about working in Corey, and everyone tends to be so involved in everything, and that's really such a highlight of what we do in Corey as Blue Zones project. So I did throw together a PowerPoint, which Erin's going to share, just because there are some maps and things that we thought it might be easier for people to visualize with kind of that backup plan. And then I know when Erin sends out the recording, she can feel free to share the PowerPoint as well, so that if people want to take a closer look at some of the maps or some of the data we're talking about, they can do so. So Erin, if you want to throw that up there.
Everybody can see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're on the second slide, but that's okay. So I think I just wanted to talk about really quickly the active transportation plan and how it fits into kind of the larger scale of what's going on, not only in Corey, but realistically in Northwest Pennsylvania and Western Pennsylvania. So we were lucky that in 2020, we were writing our active transportation plan, but the Pennsylvania Environmental Council and the Industrial Heartland Trail Coalition were also doing this Erie to Pittsburgh Wilds Gap, which the Erie to Pittsburgh Trail runs right through Corey. And then, as anyone is familiar with Impact Corey knows, that they're just now kind of concluding a strategic plan. And so it's been really awesome to see these three plans support each other and to provide kind of that context, but also a sense of unity throughout the region that we are really lucky to have, and has really provided us with an awesome footing for grant funding and the ability to go out there and say, these projects are important to us. They're featured in more than one plan. There's so much evidence of why and how we should be even more competitive for grant funding than some of the other applications that might be out there. So Erin, if you want to skip to the next slide. So one thing is, what is active transportation and why is that important? So active transportation is any non-motorized form of transportation. We're talking about walking, we're talking about cycling, we're talking about wheeling for individuals who use a wheelchair, but we're also talking about people who use public transit systems like the EMTA, and some point of your commute between locations is done either on foot or on bike, right? EMTA has those awesome little racks on the front of bikes. So if you do want to take your bike somewhere, you have that ability. And so the point of an active transportation plan, or at least Corey Connects, the one we wrote last year, was to provide quality transit and the ability for people of all ages, all races, all socioeconomic statuses to be able to access everything within their community at the same level. So these efforts, also help us improve community health. As Blue Zones Project, that's a high priority for us, but they also contribute to the local economy a little bit more than maybe a lot of people would realize. And they promote sustainable and equitable transit and opportunity for all. So when individuals think about transit, often people don't realize how important that is to a lot of people. So transit is not just our ability to connect to some places, whether they be the grocery store or work or school or, church or the doctor's office, but realistically, transportation is, that physical connection between locations, but there's also so much more about it because for some people, that is really so important to them that they have the ability to get where they need to go. And it really improves quality of life for a lot of people. And I think, if you're not super familiar with that, you can think about seniors who need to get to vaccination clinics in the middle of a pandemic, or, Corey has that very special service that is, helps out seniors through, my brain just blanked out on the name of it right now, but not everywhere has access to that.
You have GCAC? Is that, no?
No, Karen Croyle.
Oh, Corey Counseling?
Village
Yes.
Friends.
Village Friends, yeah.
Village Friends, thank you. So not everywhere has that, or, that is a volunteer run service. So things like EMTA, right? We still want individuals, regardless of ability, to get out there and be able to get to where they need to go. So you can skip kind of to the next slide. And so why active transportation? Like, why does that matter to us? So, yep, public health. It encourages recreation and creates social equity and increases mobility and travel. It improves safety. It reduces traffic congestion. Not something we have a tremendous amount of in Corey, but there are environmental benefits, but it also reduces a transportation burden on people. If you look back in 2020, we all of a sudden were living very different lives than maybe we had previously. And so people had their kids at home, or, were challenged in different ways they had never been challenged before. And so having that cost reduction available because, okay, maybe they could walk somewhere, or their kids could walk to, grandmother or grandpa's house when they were out of school and mom and dad still had to go to work. Those things are so important to more people than we really realize. There is the benefit of strengthening the local economy. That works in two parts. So if you are walking or riding a bike down Center Street in Corey and you walk by the Painted Finch, you're looking in the windows and you're going, ooh, I really like that piece of jewelry, or ooh, look at Augie's Pizza, look how good that is, or how good that smells, right? But if you're in your car, you don't get that same effect. Courtney knows all about Augie's Pizza. I see her smiling back there.
Yes.
But it also strengthens the local economy in terms of like the trails. So if you think about somebody who is an avid trail rider and maybe they're riding the whole Erie to Pittsburgh trail, if you're in your car, you make it from Erie to Pittsburgh in a day. If you are riding a bike long distance, you might take 2 or 3 days to make that same distance. And so when you're taking that longer trip, you're also using, your physical power to do that. So you're stopping and you're eating more food, you're stopping in more places, you're spending more money, you're, most cyclists I know, drinking more beer along the route, you're riding closer to these shops. So you're seeing things, and that ties into economic development through tourism, right? And so what we often don't consider, especially in this region, because it's kind of new, is that there's like an $80 billion bicycle tourism industry out there. And that doesn't encompass, that's just what these cyclists spend on the road. That doesn't encompass what they're spending in bikes and gear and all of those crazy things at home before they even hit the trail. So we see how, active transportation and having a bike-friendly community really can benefit us, but also walking, and for individuals or seniors with mobility challenges. So Erin, if you want to skip to the next slide. So when we set out to do an active transportation plan for the city of Corry, we applied for grant funding, and we fortunately received a $20,000 Pennsylvania WalkWorks grant. So in October of 2019, WalkWorks was housed out of the University of Pittsburgh, but they're a subdivision of kind of the Pennsylvania Department of Health. So we started in October 2019, and come March of 2020, we all realized how weird of a situation we were in. We were so lucky to be working with Pashek and MTR, a design firm outside of Pittsburgh, because we were actually the only community in the state of Pennsylvania to finish our grant plan on time and within the cycle. All other community plans were delayed due to COVID, but Pashek and MTR was really wonderful, and they worked with us and found some really innovative ways to continue to gain community input without being able to call kind of in-person meetings specific to the project. So I'm sure a lot of you saw, there was a digital survey, it was published in the Corry Journal. We were out at the farmers market taking input, Corry First Friday for the pet parade, right? Because we decided the pet parade is people who are often members of a family go to an event very specific like that, but also if these people have a dog, right, they're probably out there walking more than individuals without a dog. If any of you saw our Trail Tuesday series on Facebook, where we talked about active transportation and getting out and moving naturally, those were some of our most viewed videos during the pandemic. And so if you think of just about trail counts during the pandemic, we saw almost a 2,000% increase in trail usage during the summer months, and we actually hit a 7,000% increase in trail usage on the Corry Junction Greenway Trail during the winter. So many people were looking for ways to get out of their home when the gyms were closed, and they found the trail system, they found walking around Corry, and it hasn't stopped, which is like warming to my heart to see that people have really changed the way they look at being outside and are taking advantage of the natural beauty year round that Corry offers, right? So in the winter, maybe it is snowmobilers, but there's also people out there cross-country skiing or, walking in the snow or snowshoeing. We have such a beautiful environment to spend more time outside. Highlighting those things were really important to us as we created this plan. Erin, if you want to flip slides for me. So how this came to be, we did establish a local steering committee. There were 13 or 14 individuals from different backgrounds who sat on our steering committee throughout the year process. We had input from the school, the health department, major employers, run clubs, PennDOT, the DCNR, so many individuals, the city and city council were involved in making this a project specific to Corry. That was something we set out for from day one. We did not want a cookie cutter active transportation project. We wanted it to be very specific to Corry and Corry's needs. So we were out at the farmers market during the summer, having people create or rank these 6 projects in the idea of priority and what was so important to the community. And when we got out there, it was interesting how many people really wanted projects that would not just benefit them, but would benefit the entire community. And so that is very Corry to me, right? That's not surprising. We're a community that often comes together to improve lives of others. But one of the projects was to put in a sidewalk from Center Street all the way to Walmart Corey Memorial Hospital. So if you think about the cost of a project on that scale, that is a massive project that the funding for is just not going to be able to come internally from the city of Corey. We're going to have to find funding for that somewhere else. But if you're thinking about, some of these other projects, right? Since then, so many of the crosswalks have already been improved. Like, I think it's unfair to actually have that one still as a priority because the city was already working on that as this list came up. But Impact Quarry right now is seriously working on this Paper Street trail extension. And that's something that, out of the 184 responses we got for that survey, people really want that. People want to be able to continue on the trail into downtown Corey, which is awesome. But to do that, we also do need to make it safer to cross at 426 up by Tim Hortons. And it is, obviously important to everyone to be able to safely cross Route 6 and Center. And then the possibility of creating bike lanes on Center Street if the Paper Street seemed like a really big stretch goal 6 months ago, but in comes Impact Corey, and all of a sudden we're making so much, forward momentum on that, the bike lanes, which seem like the only way to get this project extended, now we say, okay, now we're going to have two options for people, whether they maybe want to ride a bike down Center Street and feel safe doing that with, because they're a high caliber cyclist, which I'm not, right? I'm going to be the person over here on Paper Street with the little kids with their training wheels because I'm not really a bike rider in any sense of the word. But the ability to connect people to the places and the destinations they need to get to. So, you're thinking about sidewalk to Center Street is to get to Walmart where so many individuals grocery shop. Repairing the sidewalks, that's just so people can get to the places where they live, work, play, pray, whatever that is. Trails are more for people who recreate, but we also see, if you think about where this Paper Street Trail could come in, and I do have some maps later on here, we're talking about the ability for the kids who are at daycare at the Y to get over to Mead Park to use the playground equipment, or for people in different parts of town to get to the farmer's market or to, school or whatever. Everyone has a different priority for a different place in town. Erin, if you want to skip to the next one. We can start looking at, and I realize that this map is probably super hard to read, but when you look at overall, what we're talking about doing is there's additional bike lanes, there's additional multi-purpose trails, footpaths, or bike paths. There's different sidewalks, changing up some transit stops, because right now, if you think about, some of the transit stops in Corey are not super weatherproof, right? To put it politely. And if you think about the weather in Corey, Pennsylvania, it tends to be snowing, 9 months out of the year, maybe sometimes in reality. So, having the ability, if you're trying to get your kid to the doctor and maybe you also have a baby, but you have to take the bus, having a sheltered bus stop means a lot more to people than we think. And so that's the point of equity, right? They can't get in their car and be nice and cozy and warm. So we want to make that experience as pleasurable as possible for everybody to get, where they go. Corey is an interesting world in that we have our train tracks, and how do we make sure that kids can walk and bike to school safely with 2 sets of train tracks in downtown. So these were all kinds of things that we were considering as we looked at this plan, and we had an online map where individuals could go and tag locations where they thought something specific needed to happen. There were a couple intersections that were highlighted either by individuals or by traffic statistics saying, there is a lot going on at this intersection. I see a lot of accidents here. How can we fix that? So if you want to skip to the next one, Erin. It also helped us to fit into this Rails to Trails master plan. Blue Zones Project and the Rails to Trails group and Pennsylvania Environmental Council, Industrial Heartlands, they created a regional plan to better leverage grants and create that sense of unity throughout the region. So this whole plan, which is like many hundred pages long with a lot of really cool maps in it, it not only emphasizes trails in our physical health, but like describing the economic vitality and those kinds of impacts we could have. And so luckily, as we've been studying this and creating and contributing to these plans, right, you may have heard the Erie County portions of this trail were awarded, oh my gosh, over a year now ago. Time is a very weird sense to me, thanks pandemic. $1.5 million for trail improvements just in Erie County, and a bunch of that went to the Quarry Junction Greenway Trail. And the part of the reason that could happen was active transportation plans and these trail master plans showing that we knew what we were doing, we knew what goals we were setting out to achieve, and showed that, you know, we were capable of accomplishing these things when the awards were coming out. So it's reasons like that why it is beneficial to have any kind of formal plan put out there. And so, you know, for a $20,000 investment on an active transportation plan, you know, this award was not fully because of our active transportation plan, but has played roles in a number of grants now. So the return on investment really is there. If you want to skip to the next one, Erin. Then we also become, you know, data supporters for Positively Quarry, the Impact Quarry Strategic Plan. One of the desires there is to expand the multimodal trail by 10 miles. That's so much mileage. And if you don't think about that in terms of 10 miles doesn't seem like a lot in a car, but it's a lot when you're on a bike. And they say something like for every mile of trail you have in your area, you attract people from, I think it's like, for every mile of trail you have, you attract people from 10 miles outside to come and visit your trail. So if you're adding 10 miles of trail, you're opening up your circle of riders, right? 100 more miles. So all of a sudden, 10 miles of extra trail starts getting us more riders from Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Buffalo, people who are coming and spending money in our region and investing back in our economy rather than, you know, in their own economies. And that is so important to us because that's how we reinvigorate the economy of not just Quarry, but all of Western Pennsylvania. You know, we have plans to hopefully extend the Erie to Pittsburgh Trail through the city center, but also, you know, North Hills, there's a beautiful loop possible out there. Can we take it to the country club? Can we take it to the airport property for those people who actually enjoy running or walking hills, which I think are all a little bit insane. But, you know, that also lets us leverage grant funding for streetscaping, lighting, safety improvements throughout the community. So even if you're not an avid cyclist or a walker or a runner, you know, you are reaping the benefits of those just as a resident of the city of Quarry. So if you want to pop to the next slide. We also talked about, you know, proposed bicycle infrastructure improvements. You know, I don't want anyone to have a small panic attack at looking at what the lanes could look like, mostly Courtney. You know, working with PennDOT, like, how do we make this work? How do we make this functional? How do we make this beautiful? But how do we also make it, you know, really accessible to everybody who's doing anything they want to in downtown Quarry? And how do we make it unique and an attraction? And I believe in the fall, you know, the idea of parking protected bike lanes passed in the state of Pennsylvania. So we could really be on the forefront of this happening and become a demonstration community for a lot of others who are looking to achieve the same thing. So, you know, we are hoping to expand the bike routes in the city, not just for cyclists, but also in the winter for snowmobilers, because we realize that they contribute so much to our economy in the winter, and we would love to see more of that. You know, it's going to be a combination of arterial routes where bikes or walkers or runners can come in, but also we recognize that this is not something that is going to happen overnight. And I think Courtney is going to go a little bit more into that in her part of the presentation. We really designed the whole plan with some very quick wins to kind of build momentum, but we also recognize that some of these projects are on monumental scale and we need to do a whole lot of figuring out how to get them funded. You know, it's one thing to go spray paint some sharrows on a road. It's totally a different thing to gain right of way and to kind of lay a new path, or, you know, even a bus shelter. People don't consider that bus shelters are like $30,000 to install, because they have to meet certain requirements. They have to, you know, meet ADA requirements. They also have to meet design requirements. They have to meet just so many things that we don't think of on a local level, but they are all federally mandated, right? So that is, you know, kind of an overview of where we want to take this. Erin, you want to go to the next slide? But I would be amiss if I did not bring this little part up before handing it off to Courtney. This would not have been possible without people in Corey contributing their input, the city of Corey, city council. You know, this I pulled directly out of the plan. So yes, Blue Zone's played a role, but I am happy to do so. The steering committee members who volunteered their time, people who worked stakeholder interviews, people who filled out questionnaires and attended public events. You know, this is how we were really able to create a active transportation plan for the city of Corey and make it something that was important to the city and, you know, fit the city well. So I will say that anybody who is interested in getting a copy of the final active transportation plan, there's so much more information in there talking about school crossings and safe routes to school and how we engineer some of this. But I did not want to bore anyone to sleep about active transportation because I realize not everyone gets as excited about it as maybe Courtney and I do. But you know, Courtney is going to now kick in and talk about specifically what the future of this could mean in terms of projects, I think, over the next few decades, because it's really that long-term of an idea.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. Could you, if you don't mind, Erin, go back? You don't have to do it right now, just as I'm talking, but I'd like to go to the slide that Ashley had put together that showed from a distance the city. It was probably about 3 slides back from the end of her presentation. About 8 years ago, I came back to work for District 1. I had worked in a different region of that's the perfect one, thank you. I had worked in a different district for a long time, and I was able to come back to the communities that I knew and I grew up with, which was a wonderful opportunity. And at about the same time, we really started focusing on what we as PennDOT could do to look at transportation as a whole. So normally when people think about PennDOT, they think about just the cars and the trucks that are on the road and how they're going to get from point A to point B. And they don't realize that we play a part in the port in the Erie, that we play a part in all of the rail lines, that we focus on walking, on pedestrians, and on public transit. And we've really taken a focus in the last 5 or 6 years on how we can look at planning and incorporate what the communities want in the projects that we deliver. And so, as Ashley had talked about, it is critical that the communities that are in our area focus on those plans and what they can have ready to be able to show for grants and potential other funding, that they are prepared, that they have done their research, that the community wants this, and that they can meet the needs of the grant within the time frame that's been given. So Impact Corey and the active transportation plan that you guys have developed is really going to help the community and the Erie, Warren, Crawford County area as a whole to get some of those projects that you guys really would like. So the other wonderful thing is in District 1, we've been lucky enough to have our previous 2 DEs and now our current DE are bicyclists. They are interested in trying to ensure that people can bike throughout the entire district. The state as a whole has taken a very active approach in biking. And the county executive in Erie is also very focused on biking and making Erie County bike friendly. So Route 6, which would be, where Tim Hortons is a really important national bike route and a state bike route. And it also was one of the first bike routes in the state of Pennsylvania to have a comprehensive master bike plan. So we in the district have an idea of what we could do along Route 6 to improve biking and improve getting people through that area. And then that has allowed us to create what we just finished as a district-wide bike plan, which allowed us to go out there and reach out to the public and see what they wanted to see us do when it came to maintenance of projects, when we were looking at designing new projects, and we were out there just trying to make improvements on the roadway. Even things as simple as making sure that the shoulders are swept at the end of the winter time, or that trees and limbs are cut from the side of the road in order to allow the bicyclists to pass easier on those roads. Those are things that the public is looking for, and they are things that we're trying to incorporate. So there's a couple of things that I would like to focus on. One, it is the discussion of what are possible options as we're talking about North Center Street and we're talking about Route 6 and the Erie to Pittsburgh bike trail. And so one of the first things is Corey is luckily is laid out very parallel, very square looking when you look at it at a map, which allows us to have many possible options when we're trying to get the bike traffic from where trailheads are or through business districts. So one of the number one thing that I think that you guys could look at doing is we have a paving project that we're going to be coming through the city. We were planning on doing it before the pandemic started, probably in 2022. Because of some of the delays and everything with the new world that we are living in, we are looking at a 2023-2024 start date for that, which gives us more time for the discussions and for the possibility to get some grant funds to help with ancillary projects for this particular paving. And we're going to be coming in and we're going to be paving along North Center Street. We're going to be coming in on Washington. We're going to be paving on South Center. And there's a couple other areas just in the downtown Corey area that you're going to be seeing some new blacktop being put down. One of the successes that other towns in our district have seen, including Oil City and Franklin, is by just getting the bicyclists to understand that the town itself is bicycle friendly. It's one of those, if you build it, they will come. Kind of like when Ashley was talking, bicyclists love to travel. They love to see new areas. They love to go through, and they do support the economics of the communities that they're visiting in. So if we can just get them to understand that Corey is bicycle friendly, you're going to see an increase in the bicyclists, and then you're going to see the drivers who right now are not used to seeing bicyclists become more comfortable with it. And you're going to see a cohabitation, if you will, of living in the area. And they're going to be like, oh, they're bicyclists. This is how we behave with bicyclists on the road. And the bicyclists are going to become more comfortable with riding on the road. The problem with North Center Street as the main connection between your Greenway Trail trailhead and the Corey Junction down below is going to be right of way, as Ashley had stated. So because of the nature of that road, there are options that down the road we can look at doing. They are going to require right of way to be purchased. And they are probably going to be something that we are not going to be able to do within the next 2 years when we have this paving project going in. But one of the options that we do have is wayfaring signs throughout downtown Corey that will get people to understand where they need to be going, where they should be traveling, that it's bicycle friendly. And then also sharrows. Sharrows are fairly new in our district. They have been very successful in Oil City. They actually are being used to connect the path trail of the Erie to Pittsburgh. There is a section that goes right through downtown Oil City. And that is all on road biking to get from the one section of the path to the other section of the dedicated bike path. So we do have options of creating a Sharo program that would get us the bikes out there at the beginning while we work on more long-term solutions for permanent biking. I think the other thing is that the master bike plan for Route 6 was also looking at trying to get people down by Meade Avenue and across West Smith Street to try to get people through that general area and keep them off of North Center. It's kind of like the idea of the paper trail, where it would allow people to be on roads that are a little bit more calm if they're not as comfortable biking, but still gets the bicyclists down through actual downtown business area. So with the plans that you guys have, the wonderful thing is the next steps are grant opportunities and things that we can use to help pay for the next wave of ideas and the next projects that you guys would like to see happen, including things like that sidewalk between Tim Hortons and over by the Quarry Memorial Hospital. Some of the options are this coming summer, we're going to be seeing the Transportation Alternatives grant program be open. If you're looking at a project that's about $50,000 or more, that is a grant opportunity that you guys can go in. You can do sidewalks, curbing, ADA ramps, streetscapes, things like that. We have the multimodal fund. That is a Pennsylvania state grant program. That one is going to be opening this fall for applications for things such as multimodal trails, bike sharos, things like that, anything that we can do to help support that active transportation in the community. And then once we start to think bigger, if there's bigger options, there are other grants out there that may be more on a national level. There are many ones that will help us with the bike or with the bus shelters. There are grants out there that will help with, like you guys had been able to get for your bike trail. And then there's other ones that could just help with the idea of doing the pedestrian, the parking protected bike lane. I knew I'd get that out eventually. So that is something that we do have another city in the area looking into doing. They did a bike plan that looked into the possibility of being able to do a parking protected bike lane. Right now, that's probably not going to be an option for them because of the right-of-way factors. It just requires so much through a downtown area, but it doesn't mean that as we continue to become more familiar with it, that we become more comfortable and that you won't begin to see that in our area. In the last, I'm going to say probably in the last 10 years, this section of Pennsylvania has really started to realize what the southwestern or southeastern and southwestern sections had noticed in the state, which is people will travel to do things that are that curricular and active transportation. And so the question that we have is, how can we start helping you guys prepare now for grant opportunities, for as more projects come through the area, that we can make it so that we give you a product that is what you need and what you want, and how can we help you get the funding to get that? We have found that when we start having those conversations, like PennDOT Connects, that we have started doing since 2016, it's really helpful because we understand what you guys are looking for and we're able to incorporate it in projects as we're doing it. We're replacing the bridge out by Walmart and the Quarry Memorial Hospital. And one of the big things was the community said, we need to have a way for people to walk from Walmart to the Memorial Hospital if you take that structure out. And so we knew we had to put in a pedestrian path to get the walking customers through that area without having to divert them like we are going to have to the truck and vehicle traffic. So those conversations will help us as we continue to move forward. And I'm really hoping that one of the things that we get out of tonight is helping to build that relationship so that you guys are able to contact us and say, hey, what can we do? What can we apply for? What do we have the time to work within? What can we think of outside of the box? And how can we really make this a possibility to see Corey become more of an economic generator? So I just wanted to thank you guys very much for asking us to participate. We are really trying to get out there and explaining to everybody what our options, what we can do, and how we can really support one another as we're moving forward into this new world of active transportation and pandemic. So thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yep, go ahead. Chuck has a
Yes.
question.
I've been waiting. Okay, with the pushback of the implementation of 426, right now we're using some funding to get a hold of that Ritz chocolate factory or shop
Shop.
that's directly across from the trail currently. Ashley is friends with National Fuel Gas, who have a right of way beyond that to get to 6. So my question is this: since it's been pushed back, can we even entertain a conversation with PennDOT that if we helped raise funding, that we could do a multimodal overpass there through Route 6, across Route 6 and into the trail we're currently building? And
I don't think that it is off the table, a conversation. There's nothing that is off of the table. As long as federally we can make it happen for the safety of everybody involved, it's doable. The funding is always the biggest hurdle. You know, it doesn't matter if we're talking municipality level, you know, nonprofit, or even state transportation or federal transportation. So right now we are really working on our first pedestrian bridges up in the city of Erie. We're looking at doing 3 within hopefully the next 5 or 6 years over the Bayfront.
Right.
So that's going to be our first endeavor into this. I can tell you that our current estimates for pedestrian bridges over the Bayfront, which would be bigger than this, are anywhere from $2 to $7 million.
Okay, if you keep it in the 2, we'll do it.
Okay, well,
Let's set a date. Let's make a meeting.
It's not necessarily completely on us, but we can help you guys try to get the money and try to get a grant to be able to allow that to happen. And if we can do it within the time, we might be able to help it to happen during our project. Yeah, I will not tell you that that is not doable. I will tell you that it will probably be very difficult to do, but I will not tell you that it's not doable.
I think right now we have a once in a lifetime chance with the federal funding coming down to really make not just safety for people traveling, but also Corey suffers from people driving past Route 6 and thinking they've seen Corey, where the multimodal bridge going down, if we made it a really good art project, it would make it clear that, hey, there's something happening this way. So don't even listen to this second option, because I want option A, but I'm going to put option B out there. So if we acquired Ritz and then National Fuel, what's their name?
Yeah.
I've been writing grants for way too many days and nights. I'm making no sense. And we acquired use rights either from Family Video or National Fuel. Is it better to look at extending the trail that way, or to keep it the way it remains, which it comes to that intersection? Because that kind of doesn't put trail riders and walkers at the intersection when they come out.
I don't know if it's necessarily going to matter in the long run. And I say that because the question is whether you're going to want to divert the bikes and the pedestrians down North Center, or are you going to try to push them over towards Mead and then bring them back over later on? North Center is so narrow down when you're driving down past there. It's going to, your avid bicyclists are going to feel very comfortable. We have options as we continue to do projects in the area. You know, you might be able to do right away and create some sort of a dedicated bike lane. But are you looking at sending people the whole way down North Center, or are you looking at doing it during down Mead?
Well, we also have the third alternative, which is the railroad bed that currently the green spaces people are advancing.
Okay.
So number one.
So you have a couple of options.
Yeah.
Okay, so the big thing is to start making contacts to get your grant for that pedestrian bridge, and to make sure that you're going to be able to show that you have maintenance ability to maintain it for the long run, because it will not, one of the hurdles is going to be being able to say, no, you don't have to worry, we will be able to maintain it, you know, because the city or another group in the area is going to have to be the owners of it. And so that's going to be one thing. Two, it's going to be getting local support from businesses, from the leaders of the area to say that, yes, we want it, because any of the grants, that is one of the major, drivers. And then I was just listening to a conversation today about where federal grants are going for transportation, and they are really pushing for any sort of grant that will help with environmental factors, especially if you can decrease CO2 emissions. That's really getting a lot of good scores for a benefit for doing it. And then the other one is any socioeconomic drivers that you might be. So if you are able to show, you know, that bike trail is helping with any low income populations in the Corey area, as well as any minority populations, and you know, that is a wide variety of factors of what we're talking about when we talk about either one of those, but that will help with that grant as well.
Okay. What would be my first, sorry to monopolize, I will shut up in a second. What would be my first step to getting a somewhat accurate guesstimate of the cost, so I could basically, I mean, I know when applying for grants, you nail it down. So me saying, oh, I'm going to build it, it's going to be this much money, doesn't work.
Correct.
So what would be my process to nail that down?
Okay, so I'm trying to think of who the best contact would be for a pedestrian structure. I'm going to give you my phone number. I am not working tomorrow, but call me next week. Okay. My number is 814. Anyone can write this down. That's public knowledge. 814-678-7046. I can get you in contact with a couple groups that are working on the pedestrian bridges in Erie. And then there are also just some community groups that you guys might be able to reach out to get some feedback, such as the symposium from Cleveland, that is a group of students who are looking at designing things to help the area. Allegheny College did all of the sign art that you see on the Crawford County maintenance shed for PennDOT. They did all of that with recyclable materials. So like there's other groups out there that might be willing to help you for lower costs than right now an engineering firm would cost you. But you're going to want to find somebody who has done pedestrian bridges and feels confident in their estimating. And you're going to want to ask for more than what they tell you.
Yeah,
all right. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Poor Courtney, you have no idea what we have just sucked you into.
No, and that's not a problem. I mean, My background with PennDOT has been very unique. I started out, I went to school for computers, and I am doing something as far from computer technology as could humanly be possible. And only when you work for PennDOT is such a thing possible. So I have gone from working on computers to buying all of the roadway materials and everything and planning and payroll and all of that, to then being the voice of PennDOT in District 1 for a while. I oversaw the public relations and all of that, and now I deal with money. I don't know how all of that happened, but I love it. And I'm the biggest supporter of PennDOT because I've been able to try all of those things. And it gives me the ability to say to like Chuck, hey, we might be able to do it. If you can come up with the money and you can get the local support, we might be able to incorporate something. And we might be able to help behind the scene, like behind the scenes with doing it. We're not gonna be able to do a project for you, but we can help you get it across the finish line. So hopefully that's somewhat good news. I'm hoping. You still have to get the money, I'm sorry, and you have to get the right of way, but we can help you get there.
We'll roll some of the money into the resurfacing project. We can split some stuff. We can go halfsies.
Yeah, but the only problem is that the resurfacing is not on 6, it's on 426.
Well, and this pedestrian walkway starts on 426.
Mhm.
Except for it stops at 6. But
I mean, so you're paying for at least one set of stairs and a bike narrow.
No, I am sorry. I'm probably not going to be able to pay for that. But if you can get the grant money and we can try to incorporate it into a project, that's not undoable. It's just, it truly is a matter of, we can help get things across the finish line. We have that expertise, we have that ability. The problem comes down to timing and funding, and then who's going to maintain it and making sure that we have all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted. Yeah. But in the last 4 years, I have learned that if there is a will, there is a way, and we can help figure it out.
Thank you so much. And sorry to be
no problem.
It is my nature.
Not a problem. I don't expect anything less than Corey, Pennsylvania.
The floor is still open. If anybody else would like to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself, either for Courtney or Ashley.
Ashley this time, please. No, I'm just joking. You guys can ask me anything. You guys can ask me anything. If I don't know it, I will find it out.
Right.
Well, while we're waiting just to see, and interrupt me if anybody does have a question, I'm just going to give a quick plug for our next third Thursday. This will be on May 21st, Thursday, May 21st, and we're going to feature Jeff Stemka, who is originally from the Northeast area, currently now living in Philadelphia. He's a senior associate marketing manager for Campbell Soup Company, and his expertise is obviously the area of marketing. So he's going to talk a little bit about what the best marketing strategy is for individual businesses. So that's my plug for the next third Thursday.
Oh, hey, can I plug an event while we're at it then too?
Yeah.
So Saturday, April 24th is Celebrate Trails Day. So for anybody who has really enjoyed hearing more about trails tonight, Blue Zones and the Tri-County Snow Blazers will be getting together at the Legion for a Celebrate Trails Day event, family friendly, all kinds of tractors and things and fun little kid climbing activities, hayride, live music, beer, food. So come out, join us, invite your friends, et cetera, celebrate our trails, and yeah.
Paint with the blue dinosaur.
And paint with the blue dinosaur. Because I sent the blue dinosaur an email today and she said yes. They said yes. Blueberry said yes.
We love Blueberry. All right, you guys, well, if there's nothing further, I want to thank again, Courtney and Ashley so much for being here tonight and sharing all this great information and your time. We really appreciate it. We are going to post this session on YouTube for those who weren't able to join live tonight. And again, thank you to both of you, and hope everybody has a good night. And hopefully it won't snow anymore.
Can we just
Fingers
not-
crossed.
Thanks, Erin.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chuck. Thank you, Courtney.
All right, you guys take care.
Thanks,
Have a good night.
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.